On tonight's episode of The Vault, we have with us a young lady who has shown true strength and character. After being gang raped at 15, she turned to the streets to sell the only thing that she thought had value, the only thing that she put a price on. And due to her traumatic experience, Shelley took a path in life that can only be considered one of degradation, but she managed to pull herself up by the bootstrap, and she is now a registered nurse in the United States of America. She's a married woman and she wants to share her testimony here. Unfortunately, we have to hide her identity. As a result, we will be filming this episode faceless, and I will be editing her voice as a result of protecting her identity. No, I'm going to be calling her Shelley. This is not her real name. And I just want to say, everybody give a loud and warm welcome to Miss Shelley. Shelley,
Thank you, Van.
welcome.
Thank you so much. I felt really, really shy. Honestly, we're parked here in this car, and I'm looking around and wonder if people will see us together and kind of figure it out. But I just, I am so grateful for this opportunity to share, and I know I really want to share, but I don't want to share my face, and I know people will have questions like, why share if you're not going to share your identity? But I'm just trying to protect what the life that I've built now, and I know that this can come back and hurt me. Because not everybody will see this as strength, as some people use it against me, especially in my career. And I'm just afraid. So I'm glad that you still decided to go ahead and film this episode with me. I just want to say thank you. And I know my story might reach the right audience if given the opportunity. Okay.
So, backstory. Tell me how you end up with living with your uncle and your aunt. Your uncle was your biological uncle, but your aunt was his wife. Tell me how you end up living with them. Take me through that.
Alright, so basically both my parents died when I was very young. My father died when I was 8, and my mother died at I think I was 13, and then I moved to live with my uncle. When I was there, I had a really good life. They did provide the best that they could, but they do have children of their own. So as a result, things was a little bit tight, honestly, and they did try to give me the best life possible. And I am so grateful to them until this day, because I know that, without them, I would not ever add that foundation of, kindness, because they weren't able to provide like the financial need, but they were really kind and they gave me that love. But I think that I'd still longed for the love of my parents, when I went to school, I just craved the attention. Like, I wish my mother was here. I think that she was stolen from us. I have a younger sister, and she was stolen from us so young, and I just felt like it was so unfair, and I was really rebellious. I started acting out at that age. At 13, I started acting out, and when I was going to school, I didn't know how to, accurately state how I felt. So I was really acting out, and that was like the basis of what happened, what would really propels my life into this direction, because of the way I was acting out. And acting out came with drugs. I started experimenting with the drugs. I remember my first spliff was with my cousins in a kitchen coop, right? We were in the country, and I started experimenting with my cousins, and we tried weed for the first time. And then after that, I started doing it at the back of school. I don't want to call the school name, but at the back of the school, there was this section, and my friends and we started just like, goofing off. And then next thing you know, it became like an habit. So every day we will go around there, like close to go-in time. We'll just go around there and we'll just smoke, and then I'll go home. So I started experimenting with drugs first. And then it became, as boys started to give me attention, it became a sexual kind of rebellion. And I met this guy Uh, I met this guy. He was like probably 3 years older than me. This time I was like 14. At this time I was like 14. And he was about 3 years older than I was. But a friend actually introduced me to him. It was our cousin. And
All right, hold on. So, okay, wait. So you started smoking weed because your cousin them try it and I say, yeah, this nice, and it gives you a vibe, and you started smoking weed, and then you brought this to school. So you were the person who introduced the other children to it at school, or were you into, or other persons were doing it, and then you got roped into it at school? We're talking about now.
Yeah, honestly, I was the person who brought it to school to let one of my friends try it, and then we kind of like take it from there. So I was the person who introduced it to my friends at school, and I didn't expect that it would have gone how far it went, but it did. And then she had an older brother, and her older brother, and out with his cousins, and that is all. Like I started to, I realized that they were showing interest in me, and I don't know. I like their attention. I like their attention, and as a result, I started really falling hard, which I thought was funny. That was my first crush. He was 17 thereabout, because as I said, he was 3 years older than I was, and I was falling hard for this guy. Where I was crushing at that time. I thought I was in love, and yeah, that was when I started to get the attention from men, and I realized that, oh, I'm sexy, because that was when boys started to pay attention to me, and I was, being objectified now as being sexy, and that felt good to me, that
Right, because you
attention.
crave that attention, you crave that love. So when boys started to know put argument, it feel good. So you kind of like, you accepted that, right?
yes, so initially, as I said, I started to talk to this guy. I'm going to call him Jerome. So Jerome and I, we started to, have this little love letter writing. At those times, there was no text message. So we're just writing our love letters. And my friend will hand them over to his brother, will then pass it to Jerome. And then, they were the go between us. And then one day we make plans to like go to his house because it was summer break at the time. And my aunt and uncle, they weren't, at home during the days. So during the days, I'll be home with my younger sister and their 3 kids. So we were there. The 5 of us was home by ourselves, and I had all this free time. As you know, children back in that time, we used to play outside. It wasn't a big challenge. So when I decided to go check my friend, I went to see her, and that was where we're gonna meet. I was gonna meet up with Jerome, and Jerome and I. That was the first time we kind of like fool around. We had sex, and it was horrible as expected the first time. And he was like, "It's okay, you're gonna get used to it, dude, whatever." And he was coasting me because he was an older boy, so he's already experienced. So he was coaching me and telling me that it was okay. I'm gonna soon get to like it, and I was started to make plans for the next time when we're gonna do it. And within 2 weeks, I was back again, and we went at it again, and it felt a little bit easier this time. And I was telling my friend, who is Jerome's cousin, about my experience and whatever. And I didn't understand that. Oh, friendship work, that you're supposed to keep certain things. I told her everything. I spilled everything to her. And then when we make plans to meet to do it a third time, he said that, we're not gonna do it at his cousin's house. We're gonna do it at his house. So I'm just gonna go to his cousin's house like I normally do, and then we're gonna walk to his house because he lives like a little way down. So then we're gonna walk to his house. So we were like, yeah, we're gonna go there. And next thing I know, I went there. And Vanny, when I tell you that I went there, and I was shocked because when I went there, he was him, this girl, my friend's brother, and another cousin. So it was 3 of them. And he was like, we're gonna go into his room and we're gonna do what we do. And his family members, they're gonna stay in the living room and they're gonna play game or whatever. They were playing dominoes at a time. And I remember we went into his room and we started, talking first, and was sitting on the bed and he was holding my hand, just as sweet and just as nice as he was always before. And then next thing you know, we started to go at it. That was okay because I like him. As I said, I was in love with this guy. I was okay with it. And next thing I know, it was like his cousins just came into the room, and I remember my friend's brother was like, "Okay, my turn." And then he said to me, if you really love me, you'll let my cousins go get a turn. And I did not know how to say no. I don't remember actually saying yes. I am sure I didn't say yes, but I did not actually say no. I just kind of just laid there because I think I was in shock. And no, years after therapy, I realized that it is still rape, even though I did not say anything. And I was just, I'm not sure I can say rape that word, but it was that word, right? And I was just laying there, and they took turns. The three of them, they took turns. And then it felt like forever. It felt like it went on for an entire day. I have no idea when I left from its house and back to my house, but I remember that I went back to my house. I got showered,
Wow,
and I
wow,
was just sitting on
no,
my bed
wow, oh my
waiting on
God.
my aunt and uncle to get back home. Right? It was like that entire day went by in a gaze or aze, is the whatever the term is.
I have tissue in the glove compartment if you want to. Yeah, I have tissue. I have tissue. You want to continue, or do you want to break? You want to continue?
No, but it's okay. I've cried these stairs so many times. I cried these stairs so many times. But what happened from that day is that about 3 months later, I realized that I did not have my monthly. So I was really close with my aunt, right? She was really cool. She was really younger than my uncle. So she was still like really cool. I don't remember what age she was, but she was really younger than he was. So I went to her and I told her that for some reason I did not have my menstrual, and she freaked out, and she was like, "Are you having sex? You're having sex. You're doing things because how can you not have your pee?" And I immediately I just told her that yes I did, and I was honest, but I did not tell her about what those boys did to me. I just told her that I had a boyfriend, right? Because in these 3 months, this boyfriend I thought I had, Jerome, he didn't speak to me ever again. And he said if I love him, then I would not fight, and I would allow these boys to do what they did to me. And then he just completely ghosted me. He did not call. Holly didn't. Well, would call. It wasn't our thing then, but he didn't talk to me at school. There was no more love letter. He would normally wait on me on the path, way home so he could follow me. And there was none of that for the 3 months. It was 3 months and no communication. All right. So when I told my aunt about him and told my aunt that I was having relations with him, and then she was like, okay, she had me lay on the bed, and she started to examine my stomach, and then she said, okay, so that this is that, and we're gonna get rid of this, right? So this was me having an abortion. I was having an abortion, not understanding that it was an abortion. Basically, she gave me dog blood, the tea. She boiled that dog blood, and she gave me, I think it was at Pepsi. I don't remember. It was some soda drink, the white one, cream soda. I think it was cream soda, and another thing that she got at a pharmacy, and she gave them to me, and I drank it, I think twice in the day. And then by the following day, I was bleeding. I was bleeding. I remember that because I just remember feeling that just running down my leg because I could not contain it, right? And I get messed up myself so many times during that week because it lasted so long. I felt terrified. I did not know what was happening at that time and what was happening. But then, like, the following week, she said that, so it's over now. It's over. Don't get yourself back in this situation. Don't get yourself back in this situation. I remember her talking to me like, don't do this ever again because the next time it might not work or it can kill you. And I remember her, she was angry, but she was like present and there for me. She was really there for me, and I have to give her props. And now looking back, because I was like, I don't know how I would handle that situation, but I think that she believed that in that moment she did the right thing for me because I didn't have anybody to help me out. And this boy was not going to take over responsibility and take care of me and this child. And she and her husband could not afford to actually take care of me and this child. So she, in that situation, she felt that she was doing the right thing by me, if you understand what I mean. So yeah, so my aunt, she did that, and I was terrified. And then I think my older cousin, she started to explain what happened to me. She started like breaking it down, and then I didn't know that my aunt told her everything. So she actually told other persons in the community, like her little friends. Then within like a year, I was like, remember I was 15 at the time when whispers and people start saying like, that's your belly gal. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, them start saying that's your belly. So yes, the slurs came. So much things to unpack here. We're gonna have 2 episodes because this is gonna be really long. So much things to unpack here. So basically, the slurs started to come where people in the community found out about your abortion, and they started to, use those that as a weapon against you, and they started to say these nasty things, the girls, right? So take me from there to where you said by 22 you have slept with 100 men, or about 100 men. Take me from 15 to 22.
Right, so there was a lot of whispers and a lot of stares, and I just couldn't deal with it. And I felt like really isolated, and I didn't know, as I said, I didn't know my aunt told her older daughter about this. So she was like 18, 19 on this, so she knew everything that was happening, and she, told her friend. I did not know how to handle this. I felt so betrayed by my aunt for telling her, and also by her for telling her friends. I know they're in the community and they're whispering and talking about me. So I thought the best thing for me to do was to just head out. So at 16 years old, I decided I'm gonna leave home. I left my little sister behind, and I ran away. I went to Kingston. I ran away. I went to Kingston. I went to stay with this girl that we used to go to Kingston every summer or so to just to spend time, sometimes like a week or so, because we had family there. I went to this community, so I know people there. So I decided, I made up my mind, I'm taking this bus, and I went to Kingston. So we drive from Bay all the way to Kingston. I went on the market bus by my dad. It was a bus carrying produce to Kingston, I remember clearly. And I took that bus and I went to Kingston. I was like, okay, so I'm gonna get a fresh start. I'm 16 years old. I'm gonna find a job, and this is what I'm gonna do, right? So I went to Kingston. I started living with this girl and her brother and her mother, and we were living there. And then like I realized that she always has things. She has nice things. She has clothes and stuff. And this was 2000. You understand that J-Lo jacket and this Timberland boots, that was a thing, right? She had all the latest things, and she was basically my age. I was 16, she was 17, and she always had nice things. And I was like, I'm tired of borrowing your clothes. Oh, can I get a job where you are working? And she always said that I work when my mother is asleep, so she would sneak out sometimes at night. So one night she decided to take me with her. So I went with her. I was shocked when I went at first because I remember this old man. I still smell him every time I think about him. I like I can smell the Old Spice on him. I'm not even sure it was Old Spice, but that's that scent that I smell when I think about him. I remember we got into his car. He had a Mitsubishi, and we got into the car. I got in the back. It was a van, like a Jeep. I got in the back and she got into the front, I remember clearly, and she went into the van and I was in the back seat, and I remember he's insane. If you're gonna bring her, then I have to have both of you. I'm gonna have to have both of you. And she said, she turned to me in the back seat and she said, is that okay with you? And I did not understand what she meant. I was a little bit naive. As I said, I was growing up in the country. I didn't understand what she was really saying because she wasn't really being clear. And I was like, okay, cool. And we started smoking weed, and next thing you know, he pull up at this place, at this house. But it now looking back, it feels like a house that nobody lived in, right? Because the bed didn't have on any sheet and stuff like that. But we pull up to this house, and next thing I know is that she started taking off her clothes. And he looked over at me and was like, what are you doing? Aren't you gonna undress? And he started taking off his clothes. So they're both in the nude, and I felt pressured in that situation, and I was like, okay then. and I took off my clothes. And the next thing I know, this old man was on top of me. She watched first, and then E went to her. So this was like my fourth or so sexual experience, or fifth, and I'm involved in a three-way. I didn't know what it was at that time, but I know what it is called now. And I felt like, okay, so maybe this is how all the girls are doing it, because I did not understand that this was normal, because this was the life that I was being sold, right? And I was sold this dream. And then when we were finished and we got dressed and whatever, he took us back to the top of the lane, and she and we got out. And he gave her some money. He gave her some money. I remember he gave her some money, and it was all bills, right? And when we were walking down the path down to our house, you know how ghetto situation set up where there's zinc fence. She waited until we bend that corner, and then when we reach that corner, that's where she actually she split the money in half. She took the money, she split it in half, and she said, "This is your share." And when I look at that money, I was like, that much. And she said, "Yes, next week again, or if you want to go with a different man later on this week, because I think it's like Tuesday or so, we can do a different guy." I asked her, what are you doing? This is not your boyfriend. And she said, "No, this is not my boyfriend. But you want nice things, right? You want to stop borrowing my stuff. Then you're gonna have to earn your keep." She did not use that word, but that's basically what she said. You're gonna have to earn your keep. You're gonna have to earn your stay here. So I thought it was normal. As I said, we went back in, we snuck in. Her brother opened the door for us, the back door, and we snuck through the back door, and we're back in bed. And then, because her mother didn't care that I was not going to school, that I was younger than her. She was already out high school, and I was supposed to be in my final year, and her mother didn't care that I wasn't going to high school. She had a boyfriend, so her boyfriend will actually come by the house sometime, and her mother didn't care whatever money she had. She gave her mother a part of it. And then when I started getting money this way too, I started giving her mother a part of the money. And then by the time I was like, when she turned 18, we stopped hiding, because this was like a couple months after. We stopped hiding. We can basically just go out wherever. And I would just say, "Oh, I'm going with her," and her mother didn't care as long as we get back home. She would always check to ensure that we are back home. But she didn't care where we're going. She didn't ask where we were going. And I realized that it became more than 2 men per week to like 3 men per week, right? 3 different men, and these were older men. And I started getting into this life and smoking and drinking and doing these things and collecting money. I remember one time this man, when he came, this was the very first time I was actually holding in my hand $5,000 at one time. I was shocked. He gave me $5,000 one time, and I was really shocked. And then she started telling me things about going to the clinic and, ensuring I don't get pregnant and stuff like that. And she showed me the ropes. She showed me how to get away with things. And, she was telling me, don't let anybody put any ickies on you and stuff like that. She was basically teaching me how to be a hoe. She was really good at it because she was doing it for a while. She said that she started years ago, so she was doing it for a while. Then by the time I quit, I was 22. I was staring at 22, and I could not track back how much men I've actually been with. I actually met this really great guy, and I wanted him as a boyfriend. And we were talking, discussing stuff, and, he invited me to go out with him I think it was like some party he was keeping, and he was inviting me. At that time, Weddy Weddy was a thing. I'm not sure Weddy Weddy is still a thing now, but Weddy Weddy was a thing. And he actually invited me, and he wanted me to go. And we're talking about, past lovers and stuff like that. And I could not honestly look at this man and say how many persons I've actually been with, because I don't know. And that's when I realized that I've probably been with anywhere between 70 to 100 men, and I was just 22. And that broke me. When I thought about it, that broke me. That did something to me that like right there and then I said, I gotta get out of this life. I gotta get out of this life, and I gotta get away from this girl. Because every time I tried to tell her that I want to go to nursing school, she's always like, you really want to do that, and you're not gonna make any real money. Because at this time we were really making money because we had already moved out from our mom's house, and we were renting our home place, and we were doing big things. So we actually were making real money, and she was like, you're not gonna make any real money. Are you gonna like change people bedpans and whatever? You're not gonna be making this kind of money, and you can sleep all day, right? And I was like, but I think that we should just do this for another year or two, and then we can save up. But she keeps bringing up things and reasons why I just shouldn't. And I thought to myself, and I was like, I'm gonna get out of this life. This life is not for me. As every time I think about it, I just realize how terrible it is, and I don't want it. I was just actually like, no, I cannot do this anymore. And it was like there was something that's telling me that this wasn't right, and I cannot do this. I have to get away from this life. I have to. And I keep on pushing myself, and I started making a plan. I was like, okay, I'm gonna find my way out. I'm gonna find a way out. And I remember we started dancing at this club. We started dancing at Asylum. We were doing really good big things. We're dancing at Asylum, and we were making a shit ton of money because I'm a brown skinned girl. I'm slim thick, right? So I have this big booty, it's a flat stomach, and I'm really light skinned. So I was making a lot more money than her. And this is where jealousy started to kick in, because no, she's like, oh, you're getting all these tips and whatever. She started saying some things, and I realized that jealousy started to kick in, and was like, I'm gone. I'm making my plan to leave her company. So it was like, I'm heading to Ultra Rails, because we met some girls down there, and they were talking about, meeting up with foreign guys. I was like, okay, if I'm gonna get out of this game, then I have to move away from Kingston, and I need to be with the eye rollers. So I went to Ultra Rails, and that is where shit got weird.
So this is 22. You're 22 at this time when you pick up yourself and decide to say, all right then, I want more than just the local currency. I want foreign currency, because I try to save to get out of the life. You want to stop doing prostitution. You want to get out of the life. So you are saving your money, and you decided that the best way to do that is to collect your money in in foreign currency. So you decided that, okay, then I'm done with Jamaica. I'm heading to Ochi Rios, right? So down in Ochi, when I'm going to ask, before we jump into this part, down in Ochi Rios, you said that you met some girls. These were the girls that you met while you were in Kingston dancing, or before?
Yeah, we met while we were dancing in Kingston, because they were actually dancers in Kingston, and then they went down to Ochi Rios. I remember, because I had a Nokia, it's a BlackBerry, then a BlackBerry, and I remember they were saying like men just basically ping them, and they would go to these hotels to be with these men, right? And she was telling me it was a lot less, exposure. Like you weren't in the club scene anymore. It was eye class, eye roller thing. So yeah, we met them in Kingston, and then they went to Ochi Rios. Usaba told them about Ochi, and they went down, and they started living good. They were living in real nice places down there, because we went down a couple times to look for them. So I know where they were staying. So I decided that I wanted a piece of that life. So that is how I decided that I am going to move to Ochi to, try and get a little glimpse of a better life, so that I can leave this life behind and finally head to nursing school.
So now you're married. You're looking back and you are wondering, what the hell happened to my life and all those years that you have wasted. You're now married. You have 2 adopted children, because you're sterile and you can't have any children of your own. After you went to Ochi, you met this great guy and you went to live overseas. We're going to leave that story for part 2. So come back next week if you want to hear the rest of Shelly's story in part 2.